And there is also a recognition level called COT. It is called Court of the Table, and I have been 4 times COT.
What about those people who are either freelancers or businessmen whose incomes keeps on fluctuating? What about them? Do you still feel a discipline is needed for them as well, or they can be spared from here?
We always say, hope for the best. So we can always hope that emergency will not strike. But then we have to plan for the worst. That is why the emergency fund.
17 years back, when I started my career after coming out of my college, I was not very much aware about financial planning, saving, insurance, nothing of that nature. The only saving I understood was whatever was left in my account after the expenses of the month. And insurance was introduced to me by my father. Insurance for me was only LIC, nothing beyond it. Now, when I look back in those times, I realize that the things would have been far different for me have I ever understood about financial things in a far better way. Or somebody could have talked to me that how we are going to manage the finances. Today, we have got a great opportunity and a great expert with us who is going to take us through a better understanding of finances, insurance, and how one should plan about their life ahead, whether you are starting your career or you have spent quite some time in your career. It is very important that you plan your finances in a better way. Otherwise, whatever you keep on earning, it is not going to be sufficient at any point of time. Namaskar and welcome to the first episode of this series. In this series, we are going to talk about personal finances, and these personal finances are going to be related to various stages of our life, our career. I am thrilled to introduce the guest of the day, Mr. Pramod Deshmukh. Mr. Pramod Deshmukh has got a career span of more than 30 years. He has got more than 30 years of experience. He has done a lot of training with different businesses. He has trained in companies like GE, Whirlpool, Tata Motors. He has trained more than 3 lakh individuals. Today he is here with us to share his expertise. When I was going through his profile, I found that he has been involved in finance and personal finance a lot. He has trained the LIC advisors from 1999. In fact, from 2004, he has become LIC advisor himself. Not only this, he has been getting a lot of accolades as well. So, welcome to the show, sir. And today, we are going to have a great conversation with you. But before that, uh, while going through the profile, I found a couple of words which I was not able to understand. The words like MDRT or 4 times COT. So, can you just explain what are these things?
Okay. Thank you for inviting me on this show. MDRT stands for Million Dollar Roundtable. Now, this is an achievement level or a recognition level by the worldwide finance community. And if the people who are in the field of personal finance achieve a particular level of performance year on year, they get conferred with the title of Million Dollar Roundtable. And this is worldwide across all insurance companies, across all finance companies, across all the countries. And it has been my real achievement that I've been MDRT for more than 28 times so far. And there is also a recognition level called COT. It is called Court of the Table. Now, Court of the Table is 3 times of MDRT.
Okay.
So, in one financial year, if a professional achieves 3 times the target of a $1 million roundtable, then he is conferred on the degree of COT. And I have been 4 times COT. And since it is a round table, you can imagine that there are rounds and rounds of people sitting around, and there is an elevated table which is called COT. So you get a position at that center. So that is called COT.
Great. So we can comfortably say that we are with the right person to understand about personal finance as well as how the insurance industry grows and how it helps the individuals.
Sure.
So, sir, before we move forward on this, I have a very basic question. So sometimes when we interact and try to understand with people what to do and what not to do, what are needs and what are wants. So do you feel that in the personal finance space also, the wants and needs are something which needs to be understood first?
100%, 100%. See, needs, what we call, are the basic needs. We always say food, shelter, and clothing, roti, kapda, makan. They are the basic needs. Now, I need food at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. That is my need. I can have a box of biscuit and that will satisfy my need. But if I want, I can go to JW Marriott and have a 7 course meal. That is a want. So one can be satisfied with just 10 rupees, other will take more than 2000 rupees. So the need is the basic need. We have various options to fulfill those needs. Those are called wants. So for personal finance, it is very important for everyone, all the viewers, to understand that the needs have to be completed and satisfied first. Then we should start looking at wants.
So this brings me to a very important point, that how one can prioritize between needs and wants. So is there any formula around it, or what is the guiding factor to give a prioritization for need and wants?
See, as I said, needs have to be satisfied first.
Okay.
Only when the needs are satisfied and you are comfortable satisfying the needs month on month, year on year, then you should start looking at the wants. For example, if you are staying in a rented house, your need of shelter is getting satisfied. So till such time you do not have more surplus money to crave for the want of own house, I think people should stay at the need level only.
Okay. So, sir, when we are looking at whether to have a rented house people or to have their own houses, so typically when we move beyond it and we look at the savings and investments, so how one should go about savings and investment, because your portfolio talks about both the aspects. So I think audience will be more than happy to understand more about it, that what is the difference between the savings part and the investment, and when should one go about these things?
Okay. Savings is just like putting aside the money. In our childhood, we were all given that piggy bank.
Yeah.
Elephant with a hole, and then we were putting coins. That is called saving. It is just getting locked. It is not growing. When we use that saving in some instrument which is available in the market, then it starts growing. That is called investment. So first is the saving, then is the investment.
So, one of my friends, he kept on telling me that if you want to buy something, you have to plan about it. Okay. So his needs were very simple. So even for few things which he is supposed to buy, after 3 months, he will start saving something. So that third or fourth month, he is able to purchase that particular item. So is there any way where a person should also look at these things and think about something like a short-term plans for them and the long-term plans, and how to differentiate between the two so that they can manage their finances in a better way?
Okay. I will take this question from a perspective of a person who's starting his career.
Okay.
The first salary he gets. Now, the first salary is a very, very precious thing for him as well as the family, and so it is always spent in giving gifts to the parents, to the brother, sister, and all that, so that they remember this as a memorable event in life. So let the first salary go. Soon after that, the person should have a discipline of saving. In fact, if you ask me one thing which anyone should have to have a very good financial wealth in future over a period of time and over a period of years, is discipline, discipline, and discipline. Nowadays, we see a lot of people having a Monday to Friday, 5 days a week. Saturday, Sunday, they have off. And so Saturday, Sunday, they will visit the mall, they will indulge in a lot of parties, and they will really blow off the money. Now, these kind of habits, once in a while, it's okay. But if these habits keep on happening again and again, then you're losing the discipline of saving. So saving is the first step towards personal finance planning.
Okay. So, sir, you talked about discipline. Now, this is pretty okay in terms of people who are getting the regular income or who are earning, no, as you were talking about working 5 day. So every month on a particular day of the month, they're going to get salary in their account, so they can
True.
plan. What about those people who are either freelancers or businessmen whose incomes keeps on fluctuating? They don't know whether no next month they're going to earn a bigger amount or it is just going to be okay kind of thing. What about them? Do you still feel a discipline is needed for them as well, or they can be spared from here?
Okay, now this question made me go back to 1993 when I quit my Bajaj job and escort job, which was a salaried job, and I started freelancing. And that is a time when there was a lot of pressure from home also. Take up a job because it gives you regular income. At that point of time, I realized that if I take up a job, I'm going to be again locking myself. But I had career ambitions and aspirations which were different. As a result, there I realized discipline is 5 times more important than a salaried employee, because every month, if he skips this month, at least next month he's sure of getting on a particular day. For a freelancer, it is very, very important that he starts with whatever little. Maybe for first few months he will not get any income. That's fine. But the moment he gets income, he should start with 10% of whatever he gets and put it aside. Maybe in third or fourth month he will get something which is much higher. That time he should block a little bigger amount and keep it. Over a period of 6 months to a year, that saving will be equal to as if he was putting aside a fixed amount every month. Couple of years down the line, which I've experienced myself, I got over that smooth
Hmm.
saving habit. But initially, there are going to be turbulences because you don't have an income which is guaranteed.
Sir, you talked about turbulences, and that takes me to another point where we talk about emergency funds.
Yeah.
So, once a person starts earning something, as you were rightly pointing out, he has a habit of spending a lot because for the first time, the person is getting free money in his own hand. He is not asking somebody for the money. So, in those situations, what are your thoughts about emergency fund and how one should go about those emergency funds?
Okay, good. Emergency strikes anytime, anywhere. You cannot predict. We always say, hope for the best. So we can always hope that emergency will not strike. But then we have to plan for the worst. That is why the emergency fund. Now, emergency fund again will differ from the age and the stage of the person in personal life. But then I will just give a small thumb rule that initially the person should look at if he's in a job, 3 months should be good enough if he's a bachelor. 6 to 9 months, he should look off his take home pay to be kept aside as an emergency fund. Once he builds that emergency fund, then he can look at building up other avenues of financial planning. But emergency fund is urgent.
Okay. Now, sometimes even I, early in my career and early in my professional life, I used to get confused. The emergency fund, the savings, and the investment. Whether whatever I have invested, can that be used as a in terms of emergency, or we have to plan it very very separate?
Okay. When we talk about investment, there are normally three time zones we should look at. A short term, which I would say maybe a year or more. A medium term could be anything from 3 years to 5 years. And anything beyond 10 years, 20 years, like a child marriage, child education, retirement, all those will fall into long
Long
term.
term.
Now, once we have created a emergency fund which gives us a peace of mind, I want to use this phrase again, peace of mind, and the spelling is PEACE. And if you don't do personal finance planning properly, you will have PIECE, peace of mind. दिल के टुकड़े टुकड़े हो जाएंगे. And that is the reason why I will say emergency fund is peace of mind. Now, once you have done that, then your saving habit is going to be helping you to put aside some money. Make 3 buckets. Whatever is the amount, put something in the short term, put something in the medium term, put something in the long term. But before you start putting, you have to define the goals very, very clearly. Short term, what do I need that money and how much do I need and at what date do I need? Same thing applies for medium term and long term. Unless the goal is defined, जैसे मैं बोलता हूँ गोल ना हो तो आदमी गोल गोल घूमता है. As a result, to avoid that, I would recommend that short-term goals should be put on paper, medium-term, long-term also should be put on paper, and they should be those typical SMART, SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, reviewable, and time-bound. Once that is decided, then you know how much to allocate for each of this bucket, so that all the horses, short term, medium term, and long term, they all start running simultaneously. If at all there is a priority to be decided, short term can wait, but long term can wait, but short term should not wait.
Okay. So, couple of things which I have gathered so far from our discussion. Number one, you talked about the discipline part. That discipline is very, very important. The other part you have talked about is in terms of having a short term, long term, short term, medium term, and long term kind of vision, and then the goal, what we want to achieve. So, apart from this, are there any tools available in the market or anywhere which can help us in planning these savings in a better way?
Yeah. See, the easiest tool is to maintain a expense and income log. And a very simple technique is, I would say, go back to 1980s, take a notebook, put columns, and start writing. What is very important is to record your expenses. Many times when I help people to make their financial plan, I ask them, how much is your household expense? And they say, 18, 20, 22,000. Now, this is a very wrong way of estimating your expenses. 18 to 22 is 4,000. And this 4,000 saved month on month for 20 years can become a crore. So we shouldn't be taking small amounts for granted. And that is why time log, wherein we put the expense heads and we put exact amount every month, over a period of 5-6 months, the pattern of expenses will emerge. And then you can start budgeting, which is another very powerful thing which must be done. Once you budget the expense, then only you spend that. Then you are able to save.
So you talked about that every month, even 4,000 saved over a longer period of time gives you 1 crore. So I think you were indicating something around the power of compounding.
Yes.
So
yes.
For our audience, if you can just explain a bit more on the power of compounding and how it actually helps in the real life situations.
Yes. In fact, we have always been hearing about the 7 wonders of the world. Compounding is called the 8th wonder of the world. And compounding, in very simple words for anyone to understand, is interest on interest. So one is a simple interest on the principal, but when we have interest on the interest gain, that is called compounding. And in compounding, we have to remember how much amount we put in is very important. But what is very important is how long do we invest the time and stay invested. That is going to give us the magic of compounding. That is going to actually create not just a magic, but a miracle of compounding. So today, when people are really looking at short term, my very, very clear, strong recommendation to the viewers is do whatever is short term required, agreed. But please look at it long term, because let not only money, but let the time also help you to create your wealth.
It means time actually gives a multiplier effect into the whole process.
100%.
So when you're talking about this, I was trying to understand in terms of investing, and somewhere I've heard these terms like passive investing and active investing. So what are these two terms?
Okay. Now, passive, as the word indicates, you're doing nothing. Active is you are actively involved. Now, for a professional or for a business owner, the domain itself takes, today there is no 8-hour working. It is 10 hours, 12 hours of working. Many companies have got 5 days a week, but then still they are working on weekends. Now, if you are focused on career and your domain expertise, you are left with very little time to really get actively involved in managing your investments. And people who have that kind of time should get into active involvement and active managing of their funds, wherein daily they'll have to work. They'll have to do a lot of technical analysis. They'll have to do a lot of economic study. They'll have to understand what is happening the world over and how those world events are likely to happen. Now, if you have the time and the inclination, then you get into active investment. If you don't, then you remain passive. It will go a little slow, but surely it will be steady. Passive investment is allowing the money to do its work by not touching it. It is like when we hum dahi jamate hain, we keep it steady. We don't shake it. We don't churn it all the time. So passive investment is investing and staying quiet, allowing the experts. Like if you are choosing an mutual fund as a vehicle, allow the mutual fund experts to manage that fund. If you are choosing the shares and stocks in the market, then it is not truly a very passive income, because you have to keep on monitoring. Mutual funds is a little relatively much passive.
So, in my career also and in my life also, something which has bothered me or which has kept on challenging me is to remain disciplined.
Yes.
Sometimes we start one process, for example, in investment or in any other places, but then some emergency will come and we are off track because we have to address something very urgent. What are your thoughts on this, and how one can move away from this habit of whatever you have saved for 3 months and suddenly an emergency comes up and somebody met with an accident and you wanted to help the person, or somebody in your family met with an accident, and then you break off your savings. How to go about it, and how to help yourself on this
See,
situation?
that is the reason why I said first very important thing is to create an emergency fund. But don't wait for the emergency to crop up in life. After creating the emergency fund, move on to insurances. The first insurance we should always have is a personal accident insurance, because accident is an emergency and it will wipe out the emergency fund. We want the emergency fund to be available but not use it. So let's have a personal accident policy. We should then have a health insurance policy, because it is also an emergency. And if it is an emergency, it should again not wipe out your savings. So we should have health insurance. Third calamity which can always strike is a death. And again, when death strikes, there should be a life insurance. So after emergency fund, we should create health insurance, personal accident insurance, and life insurance, so that we are secured. If you have seen the circus, the jokers jump from one swing to another only because there is a safety net. So our confidence in life goes up the moment we have that safety net called insurance. So emergency fund is to be created, savings are to be created, but to protect those savings and emergency fund, we must have these three insurances in place.
Rightly said, sir. I think the accident insurance, the health insurance, the term insurance kinds of things are really going to help any individual. And that safety net concept is a very, very prominent concept. And that is what I have realized in my life as well. And I started following, taking all these insurances in my bucket to help my family and have that safety net in my life as well. So this brings me to the next part of the question, that the discipline part, that I keep on coming back to the discipline, because many of our viewers might be thinking that whatever we are talking is very normal, they are already aware about it, but somehow they are not able to do it. So do you have any golden tip how to be disciplined actually on this?
Discipline is a word we need to first understand. Discipline is doing what you must do, whether you like it or not. Now, there are two elements which I have explained: doing what must be done, and second, whether you like it or not. Now, most of the people get trapped in this. We have our intellect, head, and we have our emotions and feelings, which is our heart. If our heart is going to rule our decisions, then we will miss the discipline. Discipline is dictated by our head, and emotions are dictated by our heart. And discipline and heart, they don't go together. So a person who is able to use his intellect to control his emotions is a disciplined person. And discipline ke siva nothing is going to happen. Forget in personal finance, even in life, even in career, nothing is going to be really materializing. Because one thing, let's all understand, discipline gives consistency, and consistency gives the miracle and the magic. Whereas inconsistency is indiscipline, and inconsistency prompts people to do something instantly. And so I will say consistency is more important than intensity. So suddenly putting 10 lakhs somewhere is not going to be more important. Putting 10,000 per month is going to be more important.
So, Deshmukh sir, when we look at the finances of people and finances of the youngsters or the people who have just started their career, many times they're confused about the difference between wants and needs. Can you just explain what are the difference between the two?
Yeah. Needs are what we call the basic needs. Once the basic needs are fulfilled, then we talk about higher order needs, which are called wants. Like I need food, that is a basic need. But I want food in JW Marriott, that becomes a need. That becomes a want.
So, viewers, if you have been watching this conversation up till this extent, I think you're liking it. So, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also give the thumbs up on the button given below. So, let's move on to the next question with our expert Pramod Deshmukh sir. He has been rightly telling us about the discipline part, the long term, short term, and medium term goals, and it has been really an enriching experience for all of us. So, sir, for those who are just starting their career or those who have just got married, what are your 3 tips for them for their financial management?
Okay. We already covered what a person should do when he's starting the career. Now, when he's starting a family, the situation is different. The moment he is starting a family, he indirectly is supposed to be declaring that I'm financially so sound that I can take care of myself, and now I can take on additional responsibilities of taking care of a lady in life. Soon they also have a baby, and so again, that responsibility gets added to that financial planning. When you are the main family earning member and you are married, the first responsibility is to ensure that unfortunately, if something goes wrong, the spouse is getting a decent amount which should help her to carry on. I know it may not be possible to carry on forever, but at least the first 8 to 10 very, very challenging years, they should be able to. And that's why not just having a life insurance is important. Adequacy. Now, let me touch upon this word. Adequacy of life insurance is very, very important. Like a person having a CTC of 20 lakhs cannot have an insurance of 5 lakhs because it's not going to be sufficient. So, do they have the insurance? Yes, they have the insurance. Is it adequate? Grossly inadequate. And so, there is a formula which we will talk in the next video. There is a formula which a person has to follow. How much insurance should be there so that the real peace of mind is intact? So when the person gets married, he has to look at supporting the wife, supporting the children, supporting the wife and then once it's a fact, the moment you have wife, then her needs and wants will supersede your needs and wants. And so whatever she wants, you will have to provide. And so financial planning becomes even more important and crucial after marriage.
My dear friends, this has been a very enriching session, and we have touched upon the basics of financial planning in terms of short term, long term needs, wants. I want all you people to stay connected with us and look out for our next episode in this series. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you, sir, for today's conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.